Own your money. Own your life.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. The pandemic is doing a lot for population migration. People are fleeing the big cities. They're fleeing New York. They're fleeing San Francisco. They're fleeing L.A. They're fleeing Chicago. They're fleeing Michigan. Michigan, by the way, is nuts. L.A. is nuts. New York is a bit like a cruise ship. All the fun is out on deck, and you don't want to be stuck sitting in your stateroom. That's not why you go on a cruise ship, to be sitting in your stateroom. So people are really not happy in New York, and they're leaving, and they're coming down here. I'm hearing stories about this. I heard a story today about a couple moving from New York City, and they bought a house in South Carolina in Mount Pleasant, sight unseen. They didn't even go visit the house. They just did a virtual tour online, and they bought the house. $1.1 million house. They're leaving. Multiply that story times tens of thousands of people. People are leaving. Connecticut, where real estate it was in a bear market for quite a while. All of a sudden, the real estate market is starting to get hot in Connecticut because people are moving to Connecticut. They're moving out of the city, and they're moving down here. And, the demographics have been pretty favorable here for a long time. People have been, this is the second fastest growing metropolitan area in the country. There's lots of people moving down here. And what we're seeing is that we're having some growing pains. And I live in the Myrtle Beach area, and we're starting to get some anti-development sentiment creeping into local politics. And this was a few months ago, but somebody had actually submitted a petition for development to stop altogether. All building, stop. Stop all building. Stop. No more houses, no more businesses, no more growth, no more people. Just stop. And anytime a geographic area experiences some population growth, you always have these growing pains. I mean, just a quick story. North Dakota, when they discovered that they could drill for oil in the Bakken, there was a town in North Dakota called Williston, and it was experiencing such rapid growth that their zoning committee was operating 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. And they didn't do anything to stop the growth. They did nothing to stop the growth. So, but can you imagine somebody submitting a petition to stop all growth? No more. No more money. We don't want it. We like things just the way they are. They were perfect before. We don't want anything to change. We want everything to stay the way it is. No more. No more building. So, have you ever been to upstate New York? Upstate New York is a frozen wasteland that is consistently depopulated because of laws and regulations that were developed in Albany that only businesses in New York City can comply with. High taxes, high regulations. There's no economy there whatsoever. It's absolutely non-existent. Nobody is moving there. And if you go to upstate New York, depending on where you go, it's like a time warp. It's like going back in time. It's like going back to the late 70s. Nothing has changed. I think the top for upstate New York was Lake Placid in 1976. That was the peak. It's all downhill from there. And we have growth here, and we will continue to have growth as long as we have a favorable tax and investment climate. And I don't understand anti-development people. I don't understand them at all, because when you have economic growth in an area, everybody wins. Everybody makes money. Everybody has jobs. Everybody's getting paid. It's all good. Why do you want to stop that? Why do you actually want to cause a recession in your local economy? Why do you want to do that? If you don't have growth, if you don't have building, then you turn into California. Now, California is a very rich state. The average home price is $650,000 in the state of California. So that includes San Francisco and LA, but it also includes the Central Valley, includes Northern California. The whole state, the average house is $650,000. And it's estimated that California needs to build 3.5 million new homes just to get to equilibrium. And this is because of something called NIMBYs. California is famous for their NIMBYs. NIMBY stands for not in my backyard. And anytime anybody wants to build anything in California, all the NIMBYs come out and they block development. And this is what happens. And it increases the cost of living for everything else. It makes it very expensive. Regulations, zoning, you can't build anything. This has been going on for decades in California, and now the housing shortage is very acute. Housing prices here, by the way, haven't gone up. And the reason they haven't gone up is because we're building houses. We're dumping lots of supply on the market. We have low housing prices, which is why people want to move here. And we continue to build, and we continue to dump supply in the market. Supply and demand, you ever hear about that? More supply, lower prices. People move here because it's cheap. It's great. So, yeah, prices have come up since 2009, but relative to the rest of the country, it's still really good. You know, I've owned 2 houses here, and I didn't make any money on the first one. I just broke even. And my second house, I've made a little bit, but I'm still mostly breaking even. And the reason is that people keep dumping supply on the market, and we have a very cheap real estate market. There's new houses going up in my neighborhood all the time. There's still plots of land that are available, and people keep building, and we keep dumping supply on the market. This is good. Affordable real estate is good. You know, that's actually one of the big tragedies of our country in the last 20 years, is that real estate has become so unaffordable. I mean, there's parts of the country. I mean, if you go to like Palo Alto, like it's $2 million for a 3-bedroom house. That's like 1,800 square feet. It's insane. Absolutely insane. For an 1,800 square foot house here, it's like $150,000. Yeah, it's like $85 a square foot. It's really, really cheap. I don't want this place to turn into California. You know what else California has is the biggest homeless problem in the country. And it's a direct result of high housing prices. It's a direct result of high housing prices, and that would happen here too. My last point here. Economic growth is a choice. You can choose economic growth, or you cannot choose economic growth. You can choose to grow, or you can choose not to grow. My hometown in Connecticut, they've made an explicit choice not to grow. They put a couple of casinos there 25 years ago. There's an access road to the casino. In 25 years, they haven't built anything on that access road. It's the craziest thing I have ever seen in my entire life. They have completely shut down all development. There's no private business in the entire town outside of a couple of pizza places, and that's it. Everywhere else you go in the country, things are booming and people are getting rich, and that's a choice. Every place in the country that's dead and nothing's happening and there's poverty, that's a choice. Texas has the same GDP of Canada with 2/3 of the population. Think about that. No state income taxes. People are moving there all the time. These people aren't going to be successful here. Look, when you're growing fast, there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be growing pains, but it's better than the alternative. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
The Jared Dillian Show.